What if everything you thought you knew about sister wives was just a facade beneath the cameras? There's so much more happening in this polygamous family than anyone could ever imagine. While fans have been glued to the screen, captivated by the drama between Cody and his wives, there are deeper, darker struggles happening behind closed doors, struggles that no one prepared us for. It's not just about jealousy, it's not just about love triangles, it's about betrayal, manipulation, and the silent emotional toll this family is still enduring season after season as we watch the Browns attempt to hold it all together. What we don't see is the pain, the emotional warfare, and the broken bonds that will never be repaired. The truth, the real drama, goes far beyond what we're shown. So what are the hidden truths? What happens when the wives stop pretending for the cameras and reveal their rawest, most painful moments? Stick around because we're about to expose what the Browns have been trying to hide from the world. Get ready for the shocking realities that have been brewing for years. The latest twist, Sister Wives, has been a roller coaster ride since day one, hasn't it? Watching the Browns navigate their unconventional family dynamic has pulled us through every kind of emotion, from heartbreak to pure anger, to moments of joy and triumph. It's a show that's far from just reality TV. It's a glimpse into the complexities of love, loyalty, and power struggles within a family. But beyond the surface drama, there's a deeper story about autonomy, betrayal, and the choices that shape each of the wives' lives. Think about it. Meri's catfishing scandal, where she was duped by someone pretending to be a man who cared for her, felt like the beginning of a larger unraveling. It was one of those moments that shook us all. You could see Meri, the strong, stoic wife, struggling to hold on to her self-worth as her marriage with Cody began to crack. That was just the start of the cracks. Then there's Christine. Oh, Christine, her journey has been painful to watch, from her feelings of neglect to her brave decision to leave Cody. She showed us all what it means to choose your happiness over a family dynamic that's no longer working for you. Her pain and courage have spoken volume. And then there's Robyn, always caught in the middle of it all. Her arrival into the family was like a fresh chapter, but also a catalyst for so many underlying issues that were simmering beneath the surface. As the favored wife, Robyn's role in Cody's life only intensified the fractures. Each of these women's experiences adds another layer to the ongoing drama. But now, as we move into the latest season, the stakes are even higher. Relationships are on the brink of collapse, emotions are running wild, and there's an undeniable tension in the air. What's happening right now isn't just about Cody's decisions. It's about a family that's been forced to confront the truth about their lives, their choices, and the sacrifices they've made. Will the Brown family ever be the same? How will each of the wives continue to reshape their futures? We're about to dive into all of that, so hold on tight. This is where things really heat up. Meri's story is one of the most heartbreaking yet complex in the Sister Wives saga. Over the years, we've seen her try and fail to make her relationships work, both with Cody and the other wife. But what's most heartbreaking is the emotional toll that her efforts have taken from the outside. Meri seemed like the one who was holding everything together. She was the one who appeared to be calm, composed, and dedicated to her family. But as we dug deeper into her story, we saw a woman who was drowning in loneliness, betrayal, and heartbreak. Let's start with the catfishing scandal, a moment that shook Meri to her core. She'd been desperate for emotional connection, for someone to show her love and attention, something that had been absent in her marriage to Cody for so long. She was vulnerable, and in that moment, a manipulative individual preyed on that vulnerability. Meri thought she had found someone who truly understood her, someone who could give her the affection she craved, but it was all a lie. When the truth came out that she had been duped by a catfish, the betrayal wasn't just from the person behind the scam. It felt like a betrayal from everyone around her. But the emotional detachment that Meri started to experience wasn't just a response to the catfishing. It was a slow burn, a gradual realization that her needs were never truly met in the family. Her relationship with Cody became more and more strained, but so did her relationships with the other wives. There was always an undercurrent of tension between Meri and the other women, particularly with Robyn. While the family dynamics were already complicated. The arrival of Robyn as Kody's new favorite wife seemed to further push Meri into a corner. Robyn's role in the family made Meri feel even more sidelined, more irrelevant, and it only deepened her emotional isolation. In her quieter moments, Meri has often reflected on her place in the family. It's been heartbreaking to watch her wrestle with the idea that maybe she had been holding on to something that was never going to be the way she imagined. She was the first wife, but that title seemed to mean less and less as time passed. In the beginning, she seemed like she had the most power in the relationship, but as Kody's attention shifted toward the other wives, especially Robyn, Meri found herself pushed further and further away, and the more she tried to force the relationship with Kody, the more disconnected she became. It's as if she had become a shadow in the family, a distant figure no one really seemed to care about, and that realization hit her hard. Meri's journey over the years has been full of emotional turmoil and inner conflict. Her attempts to make things work have often felt like desperate pleas for attention and affection, but they've only highlighted how much she's been overlooked. Watching her try to find her place to hold on to a family that no longer seemed to need her has been one of the most difficult aspects of Sister Wives. To watch the isolation, the hurt, and the ongoing struggle to feel valued in a family that has seemingly moved on without her. It's enough to break anyone's spirit. Meri is left to grapple with her place in a family that doesn't seem to see her the way it once did, and in many ways, that emotional struggle is at the heart of her journey, trying to figure out how to move forward when the past has left her so emotionally broken. It's a tragedy to watch Meri's story unfold, especially knowing how much she fought for this family and how little she received in return. We've seen her try to get back to the woman she used to be, but as time goes on, we can't help but wonder, has she been fighting for the right thing all along? Will she ever find the emotional connection and fulfillment she so desperately seeks? Only time will tell. But Meri's emotional journey is far from over. Christine's journey throughout Sister Wives has been nothing short of transformative. For years, she stood by Kody's side, accepting her place in the family dynamic and doing everything she could to be a supportive wife and mother. But there was always something deep inside her that kept telling her she deserved more. The struggle to balance her needs with her role in a plural marriage was something that weighed heavily on her, and as time went on, it became clear that the cracks in her relationship with Kody were too deep to repair. Christine's realization that she deserved more than what she had in her marriage didn't come all at once. It was a slow and painful process, one where she began to recognize how much she had been sacrificing for a family that at times seemed more like a burden than a blessing. For years, she had convinced herself that the family dynamic, Kody's love, affection, and divided attention was enough. But as the years passed, the reality became undeniable. She was stuck in a situation where her emotional needs were constantly being neglected. It wasn't just Kody's divided attention between multiple wives, it was the lack of intimacy, the absence of genuine connection, and the repeated feeling of being overlooked that wore on Christine. The final straw, as we all saw in the series, came when she realized that no matter how much she gave, she wasn't going to get what she needed in return. She was giving her all, her love, her patience, her time, and yet Kody wasn't there for her emotionally the way she needed him to be. She wasn't just his wife, she was a mother, a partner, and someone who deserved mutual love and respect. But after years of feeling unappreciated, she finally came to the difficult realization that this situation was never going to change. Christine's growing frustrations were clear to anyone paying attention. There were the moments of quiet resentment, the emotional walls she built up, and the frequent hints that she wasn't happy. And then the moment came when she decided enough was enough. She made the life-changing decision to leave Kody and pursue a future that was entirely her own. This decision wasn't easy. It wasn't just about walking away from Kody, it was walking away from a life she had invested so much of herself into. Her emotional toll was heavy, and there were moments of deep sadness and pain. Leaving Kody meant uprooting her entire life and facing a future full of uncertainty. But the thing that made Christine's decision so empowering was the way she ultimately reclaimed control of her own life for the first time in years. She put herself first. She had spent so much of her life serving others, her family, her husband, the other wives, and she had lost sight of who she was in the process. But in that pivotal moment when she made the decision to leave, she was no longer sacrificing her happiness for the sake of others. She chose herself, and that was a powerfully liberating choice, even though it came at the expense of her marriage and her place within the family. Her departure shocked the family, and the reactions were mixed. Cody, of course, was hurt and confused. After all, he had never expected Christine to walk away. He was still holding on to the belief that their family could somehow work through its issues. But the truth was, he had never truly understood Christine's pain until it was too late. The other wives had their own reactions. Some were supportive, while others seemed to feel a sense of loss or confusion. But Christine's decision wasn't just about her marriage to Cody. It was about asserting her own independence and finding her own happiness. It was about no longer being defined by a relationship that had failed to nurture her fans. Of sister wives had their own complex reactions to Christine's decision. Some were incredibly supportive, seeing it as a long overdue act of self-love and self-care. Others, however, were critical, questioning whether she had made the right choice. It's a testament to the way Sister Wives has explored the nuances of polygamy and the emotional complexities of the relationships within the Brown family. Fans saw Christine's journey as a reflection of her growth, a woman who for years had put her needs on the back burner, but finally decided to step into the light and demand the respect and love she deserved. The emotional toll of leaving Cody and the family was undeniable. There were tears, moments of doubt, and at times a sense of loss. But what stood out in Christine's journey was the way she eventually found strength in her decision. It wasn't about being angry or resentful. It was about giving herself permission to walk away from something that no longer served her. In doing so, she showed herself and all of us that sometimes leaving behind the things that are holding us back is the most empowering thing we can do. Christine's departure from Cody was a powerful turning point, not just for her, but for viewers who have followed her journey. It was the moment when Christine stopped waiting for validation from others and started validating herself. It was her act of reclaiming her life, her dignity, and her happiness. It may have been painful at the time, but in the end, it was the most empowering choice she could have made. Kody Brown's behavior throughout Sister Wives has raised eyebrows and sparked countless debates among fans. The image he initially presented as a loving husband and father has been shattered over the years, revealing a man whose actions and attitudes have done far more harm than good to his family. At the core of the dysfunction that plagues the Brown family is Cody's need for control. The power dynamics he enforces, combined with his emotional manipulation, have contributed to the fractured relationships with each of his wives. One of the most glaring issues is Cody's apparent need to control every aspect of the family, from dictating when and how the wives can interact with him to making unilateral decisions about family life. Cody's desire for control often borders on oppressive. He doesn't just want to be the head of the family in a traditional sense. He wants to be the absolute authority, the one who calls all the shots. This authoritarian approach has created a tense and toxic environment where the wives feel more like his subordinates than his equals. Cody's contradictions are some of the most frustrating aspects of his behavior. He constantly blames the wives for not being unified or supportive enough, as if the breakdown in their relationships is their fault. Yet he consistently undermines their attempts to be a cohesive family unit. Cody demands loyalty, respect, and unity from his wives, but he fails to show them the same. In return, his tendency to play favorites only exacerbates the situation. There's no denying that Cody's favoritism is a constant point of tension. Whether it's his favoritism towards Robyn or his lack of emotional investment in the other wife, it's clear that his selective attention has eroded the foundation of trust in the family. Take, for example, his relationship with Meri. For years, Cody has made it painfully clear that he doesn't prioritize her emotional needs. The infamous catfishing scandal, which nearly tore Meri apart, is a that stark example of Kody's failure to provide her with the support she desperately needed. Instead of offering comfort and reassurance when Meri was at her lowest, Kody distanced himself further. His lack of emotional presence left Meri feeling more isolated, and his actions or lack thereof compounded the hurt and betrayal she was already feeling. Kody's relationship with Christine has been equally telling. Christine has been open about the emotional neglect she felt from Kody, especially in later seasons. Kody's failure to acknowledge her pain, both in their marriage and as a mother to their children, is a clear reflection of his inability to understand the emotional needs of his wives. Instead of addressing Christine's concern, he would often dismiss her feelings, pushing her to suppress her own emotions in favor of keeping the peace in the family over time. This led to Christine's increasing frustration and ultimately her decision to leave him. Kody never seemed to grasp the depth of Christine's unhappiness until it was too late, further proving how disconnected he had become from his wife's emotional well-being. Robyn, on the other hand, seemed to have Kody's full attention, which only fueled the sense of favoritism. Kody has often been vocal about his deep affection for Robyn, and while it's clear he feels a special connection with her, it has created an unspoken rift between the wives. His blatant favoritism towards Robyn has caused resentment from the other wives, particularly Meri and Janelle, who have expressed their frustration at being sidelined. In comparison, Kody's dismissive attitude towards the needs of the other wives in favor of Robyn has perpetuated a divide that grows wider with each passing season. Kody's behavior has not just been about emotional neglect, there's also been a consistent pattern of emotional manipulation. He often frames situations in a way that makes it seem like the wives are the ones at fault, creating a narrative where he is the victim. He manipulates the situation by playing the martyr, claiming that he's trying his best to keep everything together, while the wives just aren't cooperating. His disregard for their individual needs and desires leads to an unhealthy family dynamic where each wife feels less like a partner and more like an obstacle standing in the way of Kody's ideal vision of what their family should be. In some of the most telling moments of the series, Kody's response to conflict is to dismiss or invalidate the concerns of his wives rather than addressing issues with empathy or openness. He resorts to passive-aggressive tactics or shuts down entirely. This creates a cycle where the wives feel unheard and unimportant, leading to emotional burnout and further distance from Kody. The contradiction in his behavior is maddening. He wants to maintain control over the family, but lacks the emotional intelligence to lead in a way that promotes mutual respect and understanding. Instead of being the strong, loving figure he claims to be, Kody often comes off as manipulative, selfish, and emotionally unavailable. The result is a deeply fractured family where the wives, especially Meri, Christine, and Janelle, have been left to navigate their emotional needs and struggles with little support from Kody. His failure to prioritize their well-being has ultimately led to the collapse of many of these relationships. The toll this has taken on the wives is undeniable, and it's hard to watch Kody continue to play the victim while his actions have caused so much pain at the heart of it all. Kody's obsession with control and his inability to meet the emotional needs of his wives have been the driving forces behind the dysfunction in the Brown family. His contradictions and manipulation have done irreparable damage, creating a toxic environment where love and respect seem like distant memories. In the end, it's clear that Kody's behavior has not only torn apart his relationships with his wives, but has also impacted his family in ways that will be felt for years to come. The complex dynamics between the wives of Kody Brown have been one of the most fascinating and dramatic elements of Sister Wives. What initially appeared to be a united sisterhood based on the shared belief in plural marriage has slowly unraveled over time. As the seasons have unfolded, the tension, rivalry, and jealousy between the wives have become impossible to ignore. The narrative of a sisterhood has shifted shifted into a tale of shifting alliances, simmering resentment, and emotional struggles. This undercurrent of discord doesn't just threaten their relationships with Kody, it's starting to tear at the very fabric of the family itself. One of the most palpable tensions has always been between Meri and Christine for years. The two have had a strained relationship. Meri, the first wife, has often felt isolated and unsupported, especially after her emotional betrayal in the catfishing scandal, which Kody failed to address in a meaningful way. Christine, on the other hand, has always been more vocal about her frustrations, particularly with how Kody treats her and her emotional needs. The distance between them has grown as each wife grapples with their own personal struggles and disappointments in their marriage to Kody. Their once strong bond has dissolved into passive-aggressive comments and moments of tension, leading to an increasingly toxic environment. When they interact, Christine's departure only deepens the divide as she chose to walk away from the family. Her leaving was not just a personal decision, it symbolized the crumbling of the idealized plural marriage that Kody and the wives had tried to build. Christine's decision left a void, and while Kody may have been devastated for some of the wives, it was a relief. Janelle, in particular, appeared torn between her loyalty to Kody and her understanding of Christine's decision to leave. In many ways, Janelle found herself in the role of the peacekeeper, trying to maintain her connection with Kody while also navigating the increasingly obvious rift between the wives. Her position became more difficult as she was forced to align herself with one side or another in a family that was visibly fracturing. Jealousy is another powerful force driving the wedge between the wives. It may have started as a natural, if uncomfortable, aspect of plural marriage, but over the years, it has become more pronounced. Kody's blatant favoritism towards Robyn has certainly amplified the resentment among the other wives. The fact that Kody seems to prioritize Robyn both emotionally and practically has been a source of constant frustration for Meri, Christine, and Janelle. The unspoken grievance is hard to ignore. They all feel sidelined, whether it's because Kody spends more time with Robyn or because her children seem to have a place of privilege in the family dynamic. The wife's frustration isn't just with Kody, it's with each other as they navigate a family where one wife consistently feels more valued than the others. The emotional toll this has taken on the wives is significant. Each of them struggles to feel seen and valued. Meri, who has always been loyal to Kody, seems to have been cast aside in the eyes of her sister. Wives, her repeated attempts to repair her marriage have been met with indifference from Kody, and this leaves her with little support from the other wives. Meanwhile, Christine's decision to leave was a profound realization of her need for personal happiness and fulfillment, something Kody couldn't provide. She knew she deserved more than the emotional neglect she was receiving, but it didn't come without pain. Her departure was a reflection of how much she had been emotionally drained from trying to keep up the illusion of a happy family, when in reality, her relationship with Kody had become strained beyond repair. Janelle, while often caught in the middle, also struggles to feel valued. She has been a long-standing member of the family, yet her contributions and emotional needs often go unnoticed in the wake of Kody's growing attention to Robyn. Janelle's quiet frustration is visible, and her internal battle to reconcile her love for Kody with the reality of the toxic family dynamic is deeply emotional. She's become more vocal about her dissatisfaction in later seasons, and it's clear that she's no longer willing to simply go along with the status quo, but she also finds herself hesitant to speak out too much, especially when it comes to the complicated relationships with the other wife. What was once presented as a plural marriage built on cooperation, trust, and mutual respect has become a battleground. Each wife, in her own way, has tried to carve out her place in a family that no longer functions as it was originally intended. The struggle to be heard, seen, and valued by Kody, as well as by each other, has led to deep emotional wounds. These wounds aren't just caused by Kody's actions, they're also exacerbated by the silent rivalry that exists between the wives. Their shared struggles have over time turned into a fractured web of hurt feelings, jealousy, and unspoken grievances. The lack of true sisterhood is a painful reality for the Brown family. Instead of a united front, The wives are constantly vying for Kody's attention and validation, leading to feelings of insecurity and resentment. The show has always portrayed them as a sister wives unit, but the truth is, this idealized vision has long since crumbled. In its place stands a fractured family, where every woman is fighting not just for her husband's affection, but for her own sense of worth in a situation continually undermines her. It's heartbreaking to watch the emotional toll this family dynamic has taken on each of them. The impact of the family dynamics on the Brown children is impossible to overlook, especially as they grow older and begin to form their own opinions about the polygamous lifestyle they've been raised in throughout the seasons of Sister Wives. We've seen glimpses of the children's experiences, and their perspectives offer a unique lens through which we can understand the lasting effects of their upbringing. As the kids have grown, some of them have begun to speak out about their feelings regarding the family structure. Payton Brown, one of Kody and Christine's sons, has been especially vocal in recent years. He has been very open about his struggles with the lifestyle, offering a raw and honest take on how the polygamous family dynamic has shaped his views on relationships and family life. Payton has publicly criticized the way polygamy has affected his parents, especially in terms of the emotional toll it's taken on his mother. He's also shared how the constant upheaval in the family has affected his own sense of stability and identity. His candidness in interviews and on social media shows a side of the family that we rarely get to see: the emotional burden of growing up in a family where the core relationships are fractured and constantly shifting. As we wrap up this emotional journey through the Sister Wives saga, it's clear that Kody's decisions and the emotional journeys of the wives have forever changed the course of this family story. From Christine's bold move to reclaim her happiness to the deep fractures in Kody's relationships, it's evident that the Brown family is facing irreversible shifts. But what do you think? Can any of these relationships be mended, or is the damage too deep? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.